Hey guys, so this is week 7 for the blog posts for English 200. So I went through a lot of advertisements trying to find the ones that I wanted to use this week, and I actually watched a few really good commercials, and the one I settled on for my first example was for the example of the bandwagon, and I ended up with a Pepsi commercial, and it was a Pepsi commercial, and it had to do with monks. So it was like this young boy, he walked up to a monastery, he was wearing his normal clothes, he had his hair, and then it kind of showed that over time he kind of started evolving into them. So they shaved his head, they taught him how to fight, and then it ends on a scene where he's older and he just finished this really cool fight, and so he's on a little pedestal and everyone else is surrounding him. They all have a can of Pepsi, they all drink it, and then he kind of looks around like, why am I not like totally a part of them yet? So he looks at their heads, and they all have like this symbol on their forehead, and he looked down at his can of Pepsi and he's like, oh, like the top of the can is the same as what's on their head. So he headbutted it, and then he had the same imprint on his forehead. So I believe that's an example of bandwagon, because it shows that in order to fully fit in, he had to do something like that. So he appealed to the popularity of all the people, and it was kind of his sense of validation to be one of them. And the second example I'm using is appeal to authority. So this is more of a personal example, I believe. So mine is I had a lot of friends in high school, and they were in the military, and that's totally great. I love them. But I saw from some of the other parents, some of the other military parents on like my sports teams and stuff, that they would use their rank to try to throw around and try to get things out of it. So I think that's an appeal to authority, because they try to add strength to the arguments by referring like, oh, well, my husband is a general, so we should be able to get this, and why can't we get that? He's a colonel, kind of thing. So I don't really want to like, give a full-on example, but it's more like that. Like, so like if something's not going their way, it's like, but my husband is in charge of this and this and this and this. How come I don't get the same privileges when really it's your husband that's doing it? And so that was my example for the appeal to authority. And so one of the tips, it says there's 2 ways to avoid committing that appeal to authority. And the first is to make sure the authorities you cite are experts on the subject you're discussing. So I think that would be like if you said like, well, this professor said this, so you got to make sure they're an expert on that. And then second, it said try to explain the reasoning or evidence that the authority used to arrive at his or her opinion. So to really use that authority to back up your answer. So this was an interesting assignment. I definitely took a while to get my examples, but those were it. And thanks. See you guys next week.